So today we are going to discuss about lesson 2, historical foundation of education. So for topic number 1, relationship of school and society. So when we say school, a school is an educational institution designed to provide learning spaces and learning environment for the teaching of student under the direction of teacher. So most countries have systems of formal education, which is commonly compulsory. In this system, students progress through a series of school. The names for this school vary by country, but generally... sorry po, sorry po. Generally, include primary school for young children, the secondary school for teenagers who have completed primary education. An institution where higher education is taught is commonly called a university or college or university, but these higher education institutions are usually not compulsory. So when we say society, society is a group of people living according to a shared culture. Society refers to a group of persons who share a culture, government, institutions, lands, or a set of social relationship. A person can belong to several societies at a time, religious, professional, and social. The things that makes a group of people a society is that they are share a common culture. So education or school is an institution created by society. Education is a function of society and as such arises from the nature and character of society itself.
The topic 2 for the historical foundation of education, the education in primitive society. Life among primitive or tribal people was very simple compared with the complex life that people have today. They lived in crude huts. Their means of livelihood were hunting and gathering wild fruits and vegetables. There was no reading and writing, and information was transmitted through word of mouth, songs, gestures, and ceremonial. Organizations were tribal and usually headed by the oldest or wisest among members. What are the aims of primitive education? Security and survival. Second, the conformity. The interest of one was sacrificed for the interest of the group. Third, the preservation and transmission of traditions. The ways they were doing things were the best and they want to preserve it and be transmitted to the incoming generation. Some characteristics of primitive culture: relatively simple, relatively narrow social and cultural contacts, extraordinary conservative and prone to superstitions. The organization of primitive life is tribal, not political, so that one function of education is to enable one to live with his relatives. Types of education: vocational. This includes learning the skills in procuring basic necessities of life like hunting, constructing a hut, and many more. Religious, animistic, consisted in learning how to participate in ritualistic practices to please or to appease the unseen spirits roaming around. Content to be studied. Ways of procuring the basic necessities in life and of protecting life from dangers. Superstitions included as how to worship before the dwelling of an unseen spirit such as big tree, a big rock, a river, and many more. Agencies of education. First, the home. There was no formal agency for education. The family was the center for practical training. Second is the environment. It provides the primitive people a very good place of training. How about the financing? There was no financing involved since there was no teacher to pay, no learning materials to buy, and no school building to construct, because education was strictly informal that time. Effects. What are the effects? Culture was passed on and preserved for generations. Tribes were able to meet their economic needs and they were able to survive. People were able to adjust and adapt to social and political life. The primitive man started the rudiments of education from which evolved the modern educational systems of today.
What's up mga kagulang? Guro. It's me, Genevieve, your vlogger for topic 3. For today's vlog continuation, we will talk about the education during pre-colonial period, education during Spanish era, and education during Decree 1863. All in all, the history of the Philippine educational system. Let's go! The education during the pre-colonial period was informal and unstructured. The education in Spanish era is formal and organized. There was a separate school for girls and boys. The instruction was religion-oriented. The Educational Decree 1863. This law gives Filipino a complete system of education from elementary level to college level. Although the religion was the core of the curriculum included the subject reading, writing, arithmetic, history, Christian doctrine, Spanish language, and vocal music, agriculture work for the boys, and needlework for the girls.
Another one.
Hi! So, let's continue talking about education during American regime, 1898 to 1946. American promoted democratic life, and schools are closed for more than 3 centuries. But, it was reopened on August 29, 1898. In May 1898, the first American school was established in Corregidor. And after the capture in Manila in 1899, 7 schools are opened in the city. On August 23, 1901, Thomasites arrived in the Philippines, and then the University of the Philippines was founded in 1908. The University of the Philippines was the first state school of university status.
One eternity later.
Education during the American regime, American promote democratic ideals and way of life. It is maintained by the Spaniards for 3 centuries, a system that offer free and compulsory elementary education that's established by the Malolos Constitution. Training was done by the chaplain and military officers of the U.S. Army. Next is the Commonwealth period, year 1935-1942, a free education system for public schools that promotes nationalism and teaching the life of Filipino heroes, and offering vocational education such as sewing, cooking, and farming was emphasizes. The Executive Order No. 134 of 1936, assigned by President Manuel L. Quezon, that designating that Tagalog as our national language, and Executive Order No. 217 are also known as Quezon Code of Ethics taught in school, and Executive Order No. 263 or teaching of the Filipino national language was required in all year level. Education Act of 1940 was approved by the Philippine Assembly on August 1940, which provided for the following reasons. The Japanese occupation includes diffusion of elementary education and promotion vocation education, developing in people the love of labor, and many more aims of education during Japanese occupation. And the last is the post-colonial Philippines, education aim of full realization about the democratic ideas and way of life, civil service eligibility for teachers, daily flag ceremony includes singing our national anthem, studying and discovering life and works of Rizal, abolishing of elementary education fees, Magna Carta for teachers, and the fundamental aims of education in the 1973 Constitution.
A few minutes later.
The varied goals of education in different historical periods of Philippine history. What was considered important in each historical period of the country was also the focus or direction of the education of the Filipino. During the pre-colonial period, students were given vocational training but lesser academics for them to be good fathers and mothers. During the Spanish period, schools focused on religious formation to help them live the Christian faith. The American regime educated the Filipinos to become good citizens of a democratic country, while the Japanese regime taught them love of labor. The post-colonial period educational system was devoted to the following goals. First, foster love of country. Second, teach the duties of citizenship. Third, moral character self-discipline. And fourth, scientific, technological, and vocational efficiency. The present DepEd vision and mission statement and core values and the fourth mission of the Omission on Higher Education and light to the present goals of Philippine education. They are given below. First, to produce thoughtful graduates imbued with 1. Values reflective of a humanist orientation. Example, fundamental respect for others as human beings with intrinsic rights. Cultural rootedness, a vocation to serve. Second, analytical and problem-solving skills. Third, the ability to think things through the ethical and social implication of a given source of action. And fourth, the competency to learn continuously throughout life that will enable them to live meaningfully in a complex, rapidly changing, and globalized world while engaging in their community and the nation development issues and concern Commission on Higher Education.
The DepEd vision. We dream of Filipinos who passionately love their and whose values and competencies enable them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation. DepEd mission. To protect and promote the right of every Filipino to quality, equitable, culture-based and complete basic education where students learn in a child-friendly, gender-sensitive, safe, and motivating environment. Teachers facilitate learning and constantly nurture every learner. So, administrators and staff as stewards of the institution ensure an enabling and supportive environment for effective learning to happen. Family, community, and other stakeholders are effectively engaged in shared responsibility for developing lifelong learner. So, our core values, makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan, at makabansa. The importance of studying history of education. So, why do we have to bother with the educational goals of the past which is past and so we can no longer undo? So, Dewey explain why a study of history of education is valuable. Educational issues and problems are often rooted in the past. The study of educational history can help us to understand and solve today's problem. Realistic effort to reform education begin with the present conditions which are a product of our past. By using our past, we can shape the future. The study of education past provides a perspective that explains the illuminates our present activities as a teacher. That's all. Thank you.
I am the one,